I mentioned yesterday that we had to get through several layers to get to the point, the Acts of the Apostles, where Peter is making this speech, and we come to the Pentecost moment. So the writing of this document is 50 years after the event. Now, a lot of that was the oral tradition that passed down and around, of that time period. So in terms of the historical accuracy of all this stuff, that's not going to be the primary concern. The primary concern of writings like this is the theology, is the religious nature, the spiritual nature of it. And in this moment, there is, so Peter is making his case for the resurrection of Jesus. Peter is making his case for Jesus as the Messiah. And it's taking hold. Now, by the time this document is written, thousands of people have embraced Christianity, or at least the concept of the risen Lord. Thousands have done it. And so to reflect that wildfire experience, they're saying from the very beginning, 3,000 embraced what Peter had to say. 3,000 looks like a pretty incredible number from a one-day conversion experience. But it traveled from there. It just traveled like wildfire. People were ready for the Messiah, and they were ready to embrace this message. I always marveled at why, through the centuries, we have been so harsh with the Jewish people. They are the root of who we are, and yet we have, throughout our history, been very harsh about them. And we blame them for the crucifixion of Jesus and all that sort of thing. Had those things not happened, we wouldn't be where we are today. And yet, we really have taken a very poor attitude toward the Jewish people. They are so close to who we are in our history. And I think we should be more appreciative of that the foundation of Christianity really comes from Judaism. When we look at the gospel passage, again, people look at these moments and they look at it from a historical perspective. And they ask, the questions, how could Mary Magdalene not recognize, and how come the disciples didn't recognize Jesus right away, and why didn't they believe right away, and all the rest of that stuff. You take somebody like Mary Magdalene. Mary Magdalene was there for every moment. When Jesus was arrested, most of the disciples ran away. During the crucifixion, they're nowhere to be seen, most of them. Mary Magdalene was there. She saw every single part of it. She saw every single beating, every single fall. She saw him get nailed to the cross. She saw him get a lance through his side. And from her perspective, everything that she loved was being destroyed. And not just destroyed, but destroyed in a humiliating way. In a way that really tried to stamp out the existence of Jesus and stamp out his goodness. That was all part of her personal experience. So, of course, she's amazed when she goes to the tomb. Of course, she doesn't understand when she goes to the tomb. Of course, she thinks it's one more humiliation being heaped on Jesus. They've even taken his body now. Of course she believes all that stuff. And of course she doesn't recognize him at first. Why would she? Why would she? She saw him killed, destroyed. Why would she recognize him right away? She would have no expectation of that. And when she does, of course, she wants to embrace him and hold him, and Jesus is like, nope. And even that for us seems like, wait a minute. This is a natural kind of response. But again, we see Jesus do that in other places in the scriptures, where, like, for the transfiguration, Peter wants to build booths and stay there, and Jesus says, no, we got to go. It's the same kind of thing. Jesus is saying we cannot be caught in this one moment. We cannot hold on to this one thing. Other things have to take place. We need to move on. We still have a mission. And the mission is to talk about the resurrection, not because of his resurrection so much, but because of the redemption and salvation it brings. Basically, in that moment, he's saying, this is not just our moment. This is a moment for all humanity. And we need to be about the Father's mission, which is why he tells Mary Magdalene to go and tell the others. They, of course, don't believe it. They don't believe her. And everybody takes time to process all of it and to begin to embrace what it all means. I think it's part of our human nature, really. You know, all of us have questions, all of us have doubts, all of us arrive at a certain point over a period of time. None of us is born enlightened by the whole experience of the resurrection of Jesus Christ. We come to that enlightenment over a period of time. All of us do. Why would they be any different? They wouldn't be. But it is a process, and it is a lifelong process to deepen our awareness of what the resurrection means for us and what that salvation means for us. You know, many of us at certain points, at certain times, fear death. We're afraid of dying. And my belief is that if we really understood the resurrection, if we really understood the salvation offered us in Christ, we wouldn't fear it. I'm not saying we go out and embrace it, but I don't think if we really understood it all that we would fear it so much.